people say psilocybin. Let me see. What do you say?
Mushrooms.
Mushrooms, hell yeah. Okay. What else?
Honestly, I didn't know, but that pretty much sums it up.
No, it's not just mushrooms, it's
LSD.
LSD, it's DMT, and it imitates the happy brain cells in your, yeah, we'll say serotonin. Okay, I don't know how to spell that, but you know. Anyway, it's the coolest thing. I gotta tell you more about it. Stimulation. You first take the substance, they're very small, they're probably, mushrooms are like dried out, they're like that big. And like LSD, it's even smaller, it's like that, right there, it's very small. And there's a reason that's so small, because you don't get a whole lot of it. When you first take the substance, there's this tingling sensation in the first 30 minutes. And after you're ingested, you get this like warm feeling, and you just kind of stretch out. And then all of a sudden you lay back, and then all of a sudden it's like the blast off phase. It's the coolest thing ever. And you sit there for about next 30, 10, 20 minutes, like you just see colors in your head. And it's just beautiful. Anyway, after that, you can like move around again, and everything will start moving. You know, like, what is this? The floor will start moving, you'll see these different designs on the wall. You have to, like, what is this? It's unlike any other drug in the whole entire world, but it's so like compressed. The biggest thing about this drug was used during the Woodstock era in the 1960s when it was really popular. At that same time, it was banned. It was pretty crazy and out of control back then. The history of this. Humphrey Osmond, this is a quote from him. He said, "The ceremonial and religious uses of the psychedelics are much older than their recreational uses and abuses. For most of the history, they have been mysterious, dangerous substances that must be treated respectfully." So, anyway, magic mushrooms were used by Native Americans for years and can be found all over the world. 190 species of them. Archaeologists found that Mesoamerican depictions of mushrooms were found in like dwellings and tombs, and they just found them as a super spiritual kind of substance. Obviously, LSD hasn't been made. The Spanish Catholics want to ruin everything. At that time period, they were trying to get rid of it all. They thought it was allowed the Native Americans to communicate with the devil, and so they tried to get rid of it all, but they were unable to eradicate them because they're all over the place. In 1930, Albert Hoffman, the creator of LSD, made the substance, and he made the substance completely on accident. He was working with neurotransmitters and trying to figure out, you know, what part of the brain makes us happy. And you know, he was walking around. He had this bucket or kind of handful. He accidentally dropped this substance on his hand, and he was tripping for 10 hours straight. And he like wandering around. Could you imagine the first person to ever trip on LSD? He thought he lost his mind. And this guy's a brilliant scientist. Yep, I finally did it. I lost it. And he went to the doctor, and after 10 hours, it disappeared. He's like, "What did I just do? What happened?" And he figured it out. He made formula for LSD. As I said, Woodstock, it promoted the hippie movement of, Woodstock. Everybody was out of control. They were riding around on buses, they were dancing. This was during the main era when LSD was being used. I mean, that's about all there is there, but you can see there how everyone's kind of super out there and creative. Everything's just different. Like you can even see in the cars back then. I mean, like cars were crazy, and it influenced the culture. You can see Alice in Wonderland, Cat in the Hat, Scooby-Doo. I mean, you definitely see the resemblance of Scooby-Doo, am I right? But I mean, these are some quotes from Alice in Wonderland. "What if I should fall right through the center of the earth and come out the other side where people walk upside down?" Does that sound like any sane person, anyone in the right mind come up with? Alice in Wonderland, Cat in the Hat, Scooby-Doo, they're all kind of see it in this 1950s, 1960s era, that same time period when the substance was banned. And it was banned mainly because no one really knew a whole lot about the product. And after 1960, almost no research has been done. So this right here, as you can see, this is the serotonin structure. And this right here is the psilocybin structure. And you see the only real difference here is this phosphate picture right here. But otherwise, they're structurally the same and activates neurons that are exactly like serotonin. So here's a little video I'd like to show you.
What do ecstasy, magic mushrooms, and LSD all have in common? They can all be useful in treating mental illness. There's a growing trend toward researching psychedelics as possible treatments for depression, anxiety, and even PTSD. Usually, those treatments come in the form of self-medicating microdoses of LSD or mushrooms. These tiny doses aren't enough to trip on, but they supposedly give your brain a boost. There's not a lot in the way of research about microdosing, but a few research projects are in the works, and some people swear by it. And while there's little research on the microdosing front, other research on psychedelics seem to bear out the idea that the drugs have some therapeutic function. A growing body of work shows psilocybin, the magic ingredient in magic mushrooms, can be used to fight treatment-resistant depression and anxiety. And last year, the Food and Drug Administration approved a drug trial to see if ecstasy was effective for treating PTSD. Earlier studies had promising results. It's worth remembering these are only small trials so far. Most evidence for microdosing is just anecdotal. We've got a long way to go before your doctor will write you a prescription for mushrooms.
All right. Anyway, so the substance comes up here, and this right here is the amount it takes for the similar structure to psilocybin to affect the brain. It comes up through here through the raphe nucleus, and this right here is the impaired decision making right here. And people would have this feeling of grandeur, which is just this, basically they have this higher self-esteem where they kind of feel like God. And then as it comes up through the brain, it stimulates different parts of the body and different visual effects. And back here, this is where the visual effects takes place, or sight. So criminal offense is for having the substance on hand. It's $1,000, 1 year in prison if you just found with the substance. And if you attempt to make revenue out of it, it's even more. I mean, the street prices for the drug, $40, an eighth of an ounce of mushrooms, and $4, but you can buy LSD tabs for $10 each, and $4 on the black market. How it's made. LSD is made by lysergic acid dilethamine. It's manufactured in labs, grows on rock fungus as shown. And they put them on these little paper tabs, and that's LSD. Mushrooms are grown, they have a syringe, and they push the syringe you buy the syringe on the black market, put it in the ground, you grow them, and everything has to be sterile, and you have to create that. Anyway, but you should imagine how much you can make off of it. Each one of these you sell them for $10 a tab. That's basically, because it's unmonitored, no one really knows what's going on. Like mushrooms generally is safer, but like LSD, no one really can't be really sure. That's why it's cheaper. Duration of the trip: LSD will last for 8 hours. Mushrooms can then last anywhere from 6 to 12. DMT lasts for 10 to 15 minutes. It's so intense you can't move. Drug screens. Most people can't screen for this drug, and the most sophisticated drug tests, like in the military or hospitals, they can only do they can only test the presence for 3 days after you've taken the substance. So you can't really tell if someone's been on it or not. So these are just some more effects and medical uses. This is Humphrey Osmond who did this study, and I want to show you this. So I want to take 15 of these. Sorry, you know what? Everyone just, yeah. So I'll just say this: 15 people are alcoholics, 15 people are smokers. This study where people were giving microdoses, each of these groups are the alcoholics. let's say 50% of you never touch alcohol again, or for at least the next year. All you smokers, all of you but 3 are still smokers. Everybody else has quit for the next 6 months. This isn't microdosing. This is a process of people trying to get better, and it's used for mental health, depression, definitely uses of the substance. Thank you very much.